It was Mama Kisi who saw her first. The old woman had gone out late to sell her roasted maize near the bus station, as she always did, when she spotted Wanjiru under the streetlight. Her anklet caught the glow, jingling faintly as she leaned into a passing car window, smiling in a way that sent shivers down Mama Kisi's spine. That same Wanjiru, Keegan's wife, the pride of our family. My name is Kamau, and this is the story of how my brother, Keegan, fell in love with a woman he never should have trusted. A story that still makes our small Kenyan village whisper. Keegan had always been the pride of our family. He was tall, strong, and hardworking, with a smile that could charm anyone. Women would go out of their way to greet him at the market, some even pretending to stumble, so he could catch them. But Keegan was picky. A good woman is rare, he would say, and worth waiting for. Everything changed when he met Wanjiru. It was a hot afternoon when she arrived in our village. I remember it well, because the whole marketplace seemed to go silent as she walked through. Wanjiru was stunning. She had the kind of beauty that made people stop and stare. Skin smooth and dark as polished ebony, eyes that sparkled like the stars, and a voice as soft as a lullaby. But it wasn't just her looks that caught everyone's attention. It was the thin gold anklet wrapped around her left ankle. In our village, anklets had a certain reputation. People said only promiscuous women wore them, women who loved mischief more than morals. But Keegan, he didn't believe in those kinds of stories. From the moment he saw Wanjiru, it was as if no one else existed. I tried to warn him. So did Mama. Keegan, I told him one evening, don't let her looks fool you. She's not the kind of woman you bring home to Mama. He just laughed, his easy smile never faltering. You sound like an old man, Kamau. Not every woman who wears an anklet is bad and promiscuous. Mama was less gentle. That girl is trouble, Keegan, she said one night as we ate dinner. You don't know where she comes from, and you don't know what she's hiding. A woman with secrets is dangerous. But Keegan wouldn't listen. Within weeks, he brought Wanjiru home and announced they were getting married. The wedding was small but beautiful, with music and laughter filling our compound. Even Mama eventually gave in, though she warned me to keep an eye on Wanjiru. I promised I would. For a while, everything seemed perfect. It started shortly after their wedding. For weeks, Wanjiru was the perfect wife. She laughed at Keegan's jokes, treated Mama with respect, and joined the women in the market, carrying baskets of millet on her head with the grace of a queen. But there were times when she would vanish for hours, giving only vague excuses when asked where she'd been. But then, little things started to change. I went to see my aunt in a neighboring village, she'd say with a shrug, her anklet jingling softly as she spoke. Yet, no one had ever seen this aunt. And sometimes, Wanjiru wouldn't come home until morning. One night, just before the full moon rose high, Mr. Baraka saw Wanjiru standing under the orange glow of the streetlights near the busy beer, as called Pombe drinking lounges. The area was alive with noise, men laughing loudly, clinking bottles, and the faint beat of drums from inside the small bars. The smell of roasted meat mixed with the sharp tang of homebrewed Pombe beer hung in the air. Wanjiru wasn't hiding. She stood near the edge of the road, leaning against a wooden pole, her anklet catching the light every time she shifted her weight. Her colorful shuka, wrapped tightly around her waist, swayed lightly in the breeze. But her stance and gaze made it clear what she was there for. One man stumbled out of the bar, His voice slurred as he called to her. She smiled at him, tilting her head in a way that seemed practiced, almost rehearsed. He approached her, his steps uneven, but Wanjiru simply laughed softly, her voice low and sweet, before shaking her head and waving him off. She was waiting for something better, or someone that will have a nightstand, perhaps someone who will take her home for the night. Mr. Baraka, who had been an old customer at the usual pombe spot nearby, watched the whole scene in stunned silence. He had been in the village long enough to know the signs of desperation, but he hadn't expected this from Wanjiru, the wife of Kenyan, a woman respected, or so they thought. So this is what she does? Mr. Baraka muttered to himself, adjusting the hat on his head as his hands trembled slightly. Before Wanjiru noticed him, Mr. Baraka secretly sneaked out of the lounge and quietly left. By the next morning, the village would know. Secrets don't last long when the drums of gossip begin to play. It wasn't long before another name, Meru, began floating through the gossip of the market women. Meru was a wealthy merchant who lived 2 villages over, known for showering women with gifts and keeping secrets. At first, it was just a rumor, a story the women used to fill idle time. But then, someone claimed to have seen Wanjiru with Meru walking hand in hand near the riverbank. I told myself it wasn't true. I wanted to believe in the woman who had made my brother happy, even if her anklet whispered things the village wouldn't say aloud. But the night Mama Kisi saw her changed everything. The following day, Mama went to confront Wanjiru directly. She found her in the kitchen, humming to herself as she kneaded dough for chapati. The anklet glinted on her ankle, mocking us. "Where were you last night, Wanjiru?" Mama asked, her voice sharp. Wanjiru paused, her hand still in the dough. She didn't look up, but her tone was calm. Too calm. "I was with a friend." "Why?" "A friend?" Mama's voice rose. "What kind of friend takes you to stand by the roads at night?" That got Wanjiru's attention. She straightened slowly, her eyes narrowing. "I don't know what you've been told, Mama," she said, her tone icy. "But I'm a married woman. I wouldn't do such a thing." Mama scoffed. "Don't lie to me, child. Mama Kisi and Mr. Baraka saw you. You can deny it all you want, but we know the truth." Wanjiru didn't respond. Instead, she picked up the dough, slammed it onto the board, and began working it again, her anklet jingling with every movement. As the days went by, more stories surfaced. People said they had seen Wanjiru entering Meru's house at odd hours, sometimes staying the night. Someone else claimed to have seen her laughing with him at the market, accepting a gift wrapped in silk. I didn't know how to tell Kenyan. He was still blind to it all, still smiling every time she walked into the room. He would brag about how lucky he was to have a wife so beautiful, so kind. It broke my heart to think of what it would do to him if he learned the truth. But then it happened. One evening, Kenyan came home earlier than expected. He walked into the house, calling for Wanjiru. She didn't answer. Suspicious, he went to their bedroom, where he found a silk shawl he had never seen before, folded neatly on the bed. A small note lay beside it, scrawled in hurried handwriting. "See you tonight, Meru." He confronted her as soon as she walked through the door, her anklet jingling as she stepped inside. "Who is Meru?" he asked, his voice shaking. Wanjiru froze, her smile faltering. For the first time, she didn't have a clever excuse. She just stood there, her face blank, as Kenyan's world shattered around him. The next morning, Wanjiru packed her things and left the village without a word. Keegan was heartbroken, but he refused to speak of her again. Mama ordered us to remove anything she had touched, even the anklet she had once worn so proudly. And that was how Wanjiru returned back to the village street where she came from. And no one saw her anymore around the community for a long while. But my brother Keegan was still in love and can't let her off his mind as he thinks about her all day and night.